everyone, and welcome to TLDR Week 8 Shell Scripting. Your objectives for the week is going to be learning how to create and use some basic shell scripts, looking at the different types of quotes that you can use in shell scripts, and also be able to modify a shell script so that you can do some code testing. First, we want to think about what is a script. A script is a small program and a way that we can automate things that we know we're going to have to do repeatedly. When we're doing shell scripting, we're going to be using bash as we've been using all term. Normally, you would just refer to it as shell scripting. Some people might also refer to it as bash scripting. Comments will use the little hashtag sign at the beginning of a line. Shell scripts should always start with a shebang line so that you can specify what type of shell script you're going to be doing. And I have created an FAQ video on a demonstration of creating and executing a shell script, as well as how to change permissions the first time that you need to run one. The reason that you want to care about shell scripting is because it's a way that we can figure out a puzzle and keep the solution for that puzzle so that we can do it again. If it's something that you know you're going to need to do repeatedly, for example, a backup, a shell script is a good way to do that because it makes sure that you don't forget anything. Because you've already figured out all of the things you need to do and the commands that you need to run, once you put it in a script, you know that it will always run that way. It's actually also really useful for some troubleshooting basics on servers and networks, because then you can get a really nice baseline to compare to. So for example, if you have a network problem, you can look at your baseline packets and what's coming in, what's going out, and actually trace them so that you can see what last week's packets looked like compared to this week's packets. Anything that's a repetitive task, a shell script would be good for. We have three different types of text: plain text, which is going to be no quotes, example, echo hello; semi-opaque, which will use double quotes, which would be echo double quote hello variable name. And in this case, what's going to happen is that will actually expand the variable. You can also have opaque, which would be a single quote, and that shows exactly what's in the quotes, which would be echo single quote hello variable name. What you should do is actually try each of these in a shell script and see what happens for them. Try them with a basic hello world, and then also try them with a basic variable. In shell scripting, a variable is indicated by a $sign. We're going to go over this a little bit more next week. Some important things to know. Backticks are one of the ways that we can ask a particular command in the shell script to run like it's all by itself. We can actually also use it to do things like set backtick date, and that will actually take the results of the date command and put them into temporary variables. Quick tip here, a backtick is not the same thing as a single quote. A single quote on an American keyboard is next to the enter sign. A backtick on an American keyboard is above the tab sign on the far left next to the tilde. You want to make sure that you have a shebang line. Technically it can run without it, but it's better to include one. A demonstration of that is in the shell script FAQ. It is also worth doing an extension so you know the script that you wrote. So if you write a shell script, name it whatever you want to call your script .sh so you know it's a shell script at a glance. The most common mistake that I see is the first time you run your shell script, you have to make sure that you have made it executable. It is not executable by default. Second most common mistake is you need to make sure that you're actually pointing at the script. Unless you've created a bin folder and saved everything in the bin folder, you need to make sure that you use relative paths to point to your script so that the computer knows where it is. This is all part of the FAQ video as well if you prefer a demo. The sequence that you want for a successful script. You want to test the commands, and this will obviously change as you get a little bit more experience scripting. You want to test your commands at the command prompt. You will create the file in a text editor. Always start your script with a shebang line. Add a comment at the very top that has what the script is supposed to do, your name, and the date. Want to save it, change the permissions, and test. Testing is always really important. You never want to try to turn in code or use code that you haven't thoroughly tested. You want to make sure that you are testing all of the code because I think it works, it should work, why wouldn't it work, are never things that you want to try to explain, especially to teachers, but also in the work world. Nobody is going to appreciate you for saying, I don't know what the problem is, it should have worked. No, of course I didn't test it. I would like to give another reminder, test your code, please, please. Whatever, for all the love that is holy, just please test your code. One of the things that you will be doing for this particular class is you actually have to prove to me that you've tested your code when you turn it in. So when you are actually turning in your code, you need to submit a copy of the code that I can test, which means you have to copy and paste the code into a Word document, and then you have to take a screenshot proving to me that you have tested your code. Please never turn in untested code to me. It will end up being an uncomfortable conversation for you because I know likey. When you are doing the assignment, you only need to write 2 scripts, but I would like to remind you that the point of this assignment is that you are starting to practice creating scripts. So what I would like you to do is make sure that you have created 2 successfully and tested both. Please let me know if you have any questions.